All right, here's a relative fact, perhaps. Several years ago, comes from Phoenix. I heard from a source that I cannot disclose, of course, that sonar buoy-type detectors were put on the moon. At a later time, a hard landing was made in the vicinity of the buoys, and an echo was detected that would indicate the moon was not solid. Does your guest have any knowledge of that incident?
Okay, very perceptive facts. Let me try to, again, do this in context. They weren't sonar buoys. What they were seismographic stations.
All right.
Designed to measure moonquakes.
Right.
We're basically talking sound waves through the moon.
Yes.
I mean, a seismograph is a sound wave detector through rock. And when you have an earthquake in China, you know, during the Cold War, we put up a lot of networks of seismic instruments around the world to kind of catch the Russians, to see if they were banging off nuclear tests as part of, you know, the violation of the Test Ban Treaty.
Yes.
Now we have all these neat seismic arrays, and we have computers, and we can do 3D tomography, kind of X-ray, sonar, seismic X-ray of the interior of the Earth using this technology from the Cold War. Well, we took a few instruments, somewhat primitive. The principal investigator was a colleague of Dr. Cornett's at Lamont Doherty, a guy named Dr. Gary Latham, who I met at CBS when I was Cronkite's science advisor back in the days of the Apollo program.
Right.
Very nice guy. He had a team of scientists stretching from Rice University to MIT, and I think even a couple over in Japan. And they fielded about 5 or 6 instruments in various places around the moon during the Apollo program. The Apollo 11 astronauts left the seismic instrument, the Apollo 12 astronauts, and so on and so on. Some of them lasted for the full program. Some of them, you know, crapped out 2 weeks after they were left. The Apollo 11 instrument died about 2 weeks after the astronauts came home, I think. But they were powered by a nuclear battery, and they basically ran until NASA turned the whole network off for some mysterious reason. I mean, they claimed they couldn't afford it. You know how much it cost to run the Apollo seismic network and all the other instruments that were left behind?
How much?
$300,000 a year.
Why in the world would they turn it off while it was still...
300. I'll tell you why I think, Art. It's because the seismic data is a major clue to artificial structures on the moon. Your listener, with his facts, is onto it. Let me try to explain this, because this is important, because we have not only looked at the pictures, we've also looked at all of the other correlative data sets, all of the other, you know, instrument readings and observations, and we've got one hell of a picture, which is converging on, we've got it. We've got it nailed. There are things there that are not natural, and they're large, and they're extensive, and they affected the seismic instrument readings. And this is how it worked. During the several years that the network survived, that it was allowed to run and return data,
yes,
from 69 to 1977, when they suddenly turned them off, all right? Miles and miles and miles of computer tape are recorded of instrument readings from 5 or 6 sites around the front side of the moon where the Apollo astronauts had left these instruments.
Yeah, it'd be a lot of data.
That's right. They recorded internal quakes, they recorded external meteor impacts, and during the Apollo program itself, NASA directed the final stage of the Apollo moon rocket to crash land on the moon.